Welcome to the world of Merle Beaver. In this installment, we'll look at the Bermuda Triangle, the mystery of D.B. Cooper, the true story behind Mothman, and the definitive story of the Patterson Bigfoot footage. Turn down the lights and get ready for a sonic dive into these mysteries that starts right now.
When he got on a plane in Portland, Oregon last night, he was just another passenger who gave his name as D.A. Cooper. But today, after hijacking a Northwest Airlines jet, ransoming the passengers in Seattle, then making a getaway by parachute somewhere between there and Reno, Nevada, the description on one wire service, master criminal. Bill Curtis reports.
36 passengers got off.
November 24th, 1971. A day that would forever be etched in the annals of American history. On this fateful afternoon, a nondescript man, wearing a dark suit and a black tie, bought a one-way ticket from Portland to Seattle under the alias Dan Cooper. Little did anyone know that this seemingly ordinary passenger would soon become the stuff of legend, sparking a mystery that has endured for over half a century. As the Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 took to the skies, Dan Cooper calmly handed a note to the flight attendant, Florence Schaffner. The note, printed in neat capital letters, contained a chilling message. "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I will use it if necessary. I want you to sit next to me. You are being hijacked." Schaffner, maintaining her composure, sat next to Cooper and discovered his demands. $200,000 in unmarked $20 bills and 4 parachutes. The plane landed in Seattle, where Cooper's demands were met. The passengers and 2 flight attendants were released, but Cooper insisted that the plane take off again, this time headed for Mexico City. As the plane soared over the Pacific Northwest, somewhere between Seattle and Reno, Nevada, Cooper made his move. He opened the rear door of the aircraft and, with the money and parachutes in hand, jumped into the night sky. The exact details of his daring escape remain shrouded in mystery to this day. In the aftermath of the hijacking, an extensive manhunt was launched involving the FBI, local law enforcement, and even the U.S. military.
As I say, there's no way of knowing when he jumped. After the door come open, he may have stood there 15 minutes waiting for the proper spot to come up that he could have had marked in advance, but summation.
Are you figuring or going on the assumption there might have been an accomplice along on this?
No way of knowing. Pure logic would indicate that this man was very familiar with a lot of things. The stalling speed of the airplane, if and I am assuming from what I've heard, that he told them what speed to fly, what altitude, 15-degree flaps, etc., etc. So I'm assuming that he knew quite a bit about the airplane. If so, he must be well aware of jump procedure. So maybe he's a skydiver. I don't know. What do you do with $200,000 worth of money when you jump? You don't jump out with a suitcase in your hand at 200 miles an hour at 7,000 feet. So quite likely he took a section of this chute, rolled the money up in it, and made a money belt out of it. This would be logic. Then who knows?
Judging from the facts available about the parachutes, are you reasonably sure that a safe jump could have been made?
Definitely. There are several law enforcement officers here who belong to or have done some skydiving, and at that speed and altitude, no problem.
Information supplied by the airlines indicates to us and to the FBI that this is the area where the hijacker left the aircraft.
The plane was over this immediate spot?
Correct, in an area about west and somewhat south of the Woodland area.
Has there been any physical evidence on the ground that the man came down here?
Well, not at this time. That's why the search is starting tomorrow morning.
What will you be looking for?
Well, primarily we'll be looking for a parachute. He had at least one parachute when he left the aircraft, and this will be what we'll be attempting to locate.
What kind of a search will it be?
It'll be 2-phase, ground with the use of helicopters, and also an air search by use of helicopters, a ground search by Clark County and Cowlitz County Sheriff's Patrols on the ground.
The skyjacker at this time has a 24-hour lead. He'll have a 36-hour lead tomorrow morning. Is it really kind of a long shot?
Well, any type of an investigation such as this is a long shot. We're hoping that through this media and through our contacts tomorrow, anyone that may have seen anything will notify us or their local FBI agent office.
The weather in this area tonight is maybe a little wetter, but not much different from last night. There's an awful low ceiling. Do you think maybe he might have had trouble parachuting through weather like this?
Don't have any idea. Apparently he knew what he was doing, and we'll have to assume that he made it to the ground. Whether he's hung up in a tree and we can spot a chute or not, that remains to be seen.
He's been a very clever man so far. I would think the elimination of the parachutes, or at least hiding them effectively, would be part of his plan.
Well, certainly a good possibility.
Despite their best efforts, no definitive trace of Cooper or the money was ever found. The only clue discovered was a small cache of weathered bills, unearthed by a young boy on the banks of the Columbia River 9 years after the incident. In the years following the hijacking, the FBI interviewed hundreds of potential suspects and chased down countless leads, but to no avail. The case, dubbed NORJK, Northwest Hijacking, remained open and active for an astonishing 45 years, making it one of the longest and most exhaustive investigations in the Bureau's history. As time passed, the lack of concrete evidence only fueled the public's fascination with the enigmatic D.B. Cooper. Theories about his true identity and fate abounded, ranging from the plausible to the outlandish. Some believe he was a disgruntled former paratrooper, drawing on his military training to execute the audacious hijacking. Others speculated that he might have been a disillusioned CIA operative or even a foreign spy. One of the most intriguing theories suggests that Cooper may have had inside knowledge of the airline industry. His apparent familiarity with the aircraft, combined with his cool demeanor throughout the hijacking, led some to believe that he might have been a pilot or an aircraft mechanic. This theory gained traction when it was revealed that a man named Dan Cooper, who bore a striking resemblance to the composite sketch, had worked as a freight pilot in the Pacific Northwest. Another popular theory posits that Cooper did not survive the jump. Given the treacherous terrain, the frigid November weather, and the fact that he was wearing a business suit and loafers, many experts believe that he likely perished upon landing. The lack of a body or substantial evidence, however, has kept this theory from being definitively proven. As the investigation progressed, the FBI employed cutting-edge technology and forensic techniques in an attempt to crack the case. They analyzed a clip-on tie left behind by Cooper for DNA evidence, examined the recovered ransom money for fingerprints, and even commissioned a detailed analysis of the wind patterns on the night of the hijacking to narrow down his possible landing zone. Despite these efforts, the trail eventually grew cold. In 2016, after nearly half a century of fruitless searching, the FBI had officially closed the case, acknowledging that they had exhausted all credible leads. The Bureau's final conclusion was that the mystery of D.B. Cooper was unlikely to ever be solved. The D.B. Cooper hijacking has left an indelible mark on American popular culture. His daring escapade has inspired countless books, documentaries, and even a feature film. The tale of the well-dressed, polite hijacker who vanished into the night sky with a fortune in cash has captured the imaginations of generations. In many ways, D.B. Cooper has become a sort of folk hero, a symbol of anti-establishment rebellion, and the ultimate underdog. His story resonates with those who dream of breaking free from the constraints of society and forging their own path, no matter the odds. The enduring fascination with the case can also be attributed to the tantalizing prospect that Cooper might still be out there somewhere, living life on his own terms with the stolen money. This idea has spawned a cottage industry of amateur sleuths and armchair detectives, each hoping to be the one to finally crack the case. Every year, on the anniversary of the hijacking, a group of die-hard Cooper enthusiasts gathers in Ariel, Washington, near the suspected landing zone, to commemorate the event and swap theories. This quirky tradition is a testament to the enduring power of the Cooper legend and the sense of community it has fostered. As the years pass and memories fade, the true identity of D.B. Cooper may forever remain a mystery. But perhaps that is part of the allure. In a world where so much is known and documented, the story of the elusive hijacker who vanished into the night stands as a reminder that some secrets may never be revealed. The legacy of D.B. Cooper lives on, not just as a fascinating chapter in American history, but as a symbol of the indomitable human spirit and the eternal allure of the unknown. His story will continue to captivate and inspire generations to come, serving as a testament to the enduring power of mystery and the unquenchable thirst for adventure that lies within us all. The mystery of D.B. Cooper has captivated the minds of Americans for over 5 decades. The daring hijacking, the audacious demands, and the ultimate disappearance of the well-dressed man with $200,000 in cash have all the makings of a Hollywood blockbuster. But what if the truth is stranger than fiction? What if the real story behind the enigmatic D.B. Cooper is even more incredible than the legend itself? In the years since that fateful November night in 1971, a multitude of theories have emerged, each more fascinating and outlandish than the last. From tales of espionage and conspiracy to claims of hidden identities and secret agendas, the speculation surrounding the true nature of D.B. Cooper's escapade has taken on a life of its own. Could it be that D.B. Cooper was not a lone wolf, but rather a highly trained CIA operative? Some researchers have suggested that the hijacking was not a simple case of air piracy, but a carefully orchestrated mission with geopolitical implications. According to this theory, Cooper's true objective was to secure a cache of sensitive documents that were being transported on the plane, the $200,000 ransom, merely a cover story to disguise the real purpose of the operation. The fact that Cooper was able to pull off the hijacking with such precision and then vanish without a trace has led some to believe that he had the backing of a powerful intelligence agency. But if D.B. Cooper was indeed a CIA operative, what was the nature of his mission? Some have speculated that it may have been related to the Vietnam War, which was raging at the time. Others have pointed to the Cold War tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union, suggesting that Cooper may have been involved in a high-stakes game of espionage. Another intriguing theory posits that D.B. Cooper was not a professional criminal or a government agent, but rather a disgruntled employee with a score to settle. According to this scenario, Cooper may have been a former airline worker who had been wronged by his employer and sought revenge in the most dramatic way possible. Proponents of this theory point to Cooper's apparent familiarity with the inner workings of the airline industry, as well as his ability to remain calm and composed throughout the hijacking. They argue that only someone with insider knowledge and a deep-seated grudge would have been able to pull off such a brazen act. But if D.B. Cooper was indeed a disgruntled employee, why did he never come forward to claim credit for his actions? Some believe that he may have perished during the daring jump from the plane, taking his secrets with him to the grave. Others speculate that he may have had a change of heart and decided to start a new life with the stolen money, forever leaving his old identity behind. Perhaps the most enduring theory about D.B. Cooper is that he was a criminal mastermind who had been planning the hijacking for years. According to this scenario, Cooper was a seasoned thief with a meticulous attention to detail and a knack for staying one step ahead of the law. Some researchers have suggested that Cooper may have had ties to organized crime syndicates, using his connections to plan and execute a perfect heist. They point to the fact that Cooper seemed to have a detailed understanding of the aircraft and its capabilities, as well as a working knowledge of parachutes and skydiving techniques. If D.B. Cooper was indeed a career criminal, it would explain his ability to disappear without a trace. With a network of underworld contacts and a lifetime of experience evading the authorities, Cooper would have had the resources and the know-how to vanish into thin air and start a new life with his ill-gotten gains. Could it be that D.B. Cooper was not motivated by money or politics, but rather by a desire for adventure and a taste for the extreme? Some have suggested that the hijacking was not a carefully planned operation, but a spur-of-the-moment decision fueled by a rush of adrenaline. According to this theory, Cooper may have been a thrill-seeker who saw the hijacking as the ultimate challenge. Jumping from a moving plane with a bag full of cash would have been the ultimate rush for someone with a daredevil streak and a reckless disregard for their own safety. But if D.B. Cooper was indeed a thrill-seeker, why did he never come forward to bask in the glory of his achievement? Some believe that he may have met a tragic end during the jump, his body forever lost in the rugged wilderness of the Pacific Northwest. Others speculate that he may have simply moved on to the next adventure, leaving the D.B. Cooper legend behind as a testament to his audacity and his lust for life. Perhaps the most mind-bending theory about D.B. Cooper is that he was not one man, but many. According to this scenario, the hijacking may have been carried out by a team of individuals, each playing a specific role in the operation. Some researchers have suggested that the man who called himself D.B. Cooper may have been a front for a larger organization, with the real masterminds pulling the strings from behind the scenes. They point to the fact that Cooper seemed to have a vast knowledge of a wide range of subjects, from aviation to parachuting to law enforcement procedures. If the D.B. Cooper case was indeed a team effort, it would explain the enduring mystery surrounding the hijacker's true identity. With multiple individuals involved, each with their own motivations and agendas, the truth behind the legend may be even more complex and convoluted than we ever imagined. Today, the real story of the D.B. Cooper case may very well be close to being solved. Consider this, you wouldn't jump out of an airplane wearing a tie, right? So, naturally, the most famous skyjacker to never be found, the dapper D.B. Cooper, took his tie off on Thanksgiving Eve, 1971, just before dropping out of a Northwest Orient Airlines plane somewhere south of Seattle. Now, 52 years later, Eric Ulis, the amateur sleuth who has made it his mission to solve the enduring D.B. Cooper mystery, thinks the infamous tie yields enough clues to finally reveal the skyjacker's true identity. Ulis has been fighting to free D.B. Cooper's tie from FBI holds, even suing the government for access, saying that the 100,000 particles left behind on the clip-on fashion accessory can tell the definitive story about just who the tie belonged to and where it traveled. While hampered by the non-compliance of the FBI, Ulis says the $1.49 tie, purchased from JCPenney around Christmas 1964 and found on seat 18E of the fateful airliner, contained a unique particle that was part stainless steel and part titanium. Ulis tracked that smidge of detail from a decade-old scientific report on the Cooper case and used U.S. patent information to trace various particle fragments from the tie to crucible steel of Pennsylvania. Now, Ulis just needs access to the tie to bring modern technology into the fray. Headquartered in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, a significant subcontractor all throughout the 1960s, it supplied the lion's share of titanium and stainless steel for Boeing's aircraft, Ulis said of the metal fabric shop. Experts believe that anyone skyjacking the plane the way D.B. Cooper did must have possessed insider knowledge and of the Pacific Northwest. Crucible steel workers regularly made the trip from Pennsylvania to Boeing's headquarters in Seattle. Ulis tracked the now-defunct company's assets over the decades and picked through historical records to land on a specific person of interest, a man who worked at the company and was also in Seattle around the time of the skyjacking. This is also the time, 1971, when Boeing had this significant downturn, Ulis said. It's reasonable to deduce that D.B. Cooper may well have been part of that downturn. Pinpointing his fixation on a specific titanium research engineer from Pittsburgh, Ulis thinks he has a strong lead. I can put it in Seattle, I can put it at Boeing, he said about the man that died in 2002. He's a compelling person of interest. He's definitely someone I'm going to continue to dig into. When it comes to cold cases, few continue to simmer quite like the D.B. Cooper case, the only unsolved commercial airline hijacking in history. The unknown skyjacker, he called himself Dan Cooper, but the media misreported the name as D.B. Cooper, which stuck. Paid $18.52 cash for a one-way ticket to Portland and boarded Northwest Orient Flight 305 on November 24, 1971, boarding the flight without offering up identification due to a lack of regulations at the time. Along with a strong knowledge of airplanes and parachutes, law enforcement officials believe D.B. Cooper had a solid connection to the Pacific Northwest based on comments he made during the flight about the terrain below. Carrying with him a briefcase and paper sack, Cooper passed a note to a flight attendant seated behind him halfway through the flight and whispered that she better look at the note since he had a bomb. Cooper opened his briefcase to reveal what appeared to be a bomb and then relay his demands of $200,000, multiple parachutes, and a refueling truck on the ready in Seattle so he could take off again, bound for Mexico City. The demands were met, and the planned 30-minute flight turned into 2 hours of circling the Puget Sound as crews readied on the ground. The airliner's 35 passengers were released, along with some of the crew, and Cooper negotiated the specifics of the flight path and plane setup. He required a set speed, flap angle, and plenty more, before he took off again with 4 crew on board. Somewhere still over Washington, Cooper then opened the rear staircase and parachuted from the plane, but the exact location and timing is unknown. Immediate searches yielded no evidence, and over the years, experts have been unable to determine an exact search area due to the multiple variables involved in the night jump. In 1978, a hunter found a placard with instructions for lowering the aft stairs of a Boeing 727. Then, in 1980, an 8-year-old vacationing along the Columbia River near Vancouver, Washington, found 3 packets of the ransom money in the stand along the river's edge. The FBI still has that necktie, though, So the quest for D.B. Cooper answers continues to raise new questions. 5 decades later, the mystery of D.B. Cooper endures, a testament to the enduring power of a good story and the eternal allure of the unknown. Whether he was a CIA operative, a disgruntled employee, a criminal mastermind, a thrill seeker, or something else entirely, one thing is certain. The legend of D.B. Cooper will continue to captivate and inspire for generations to come. As we ponder the many theories and possibilities surrounding this iconic figure, we are reminded that sometimes the greatest mysteries in life are the ones that remain unsolved. In a world where so much is known and documented, the story of the elusive hijacker who vanished into the night stands as a reminder that some secrets may never be revealed, and that is precisely what makes them so fascinating. So the next time you find yourself gazing up at the night sky, spare a thought for D.B. Cooper, the man who jumped into the darkness and never looked back. Whoever he was and whatever his true story may be, one thing is certain: his legend will live on, a permanent fixture in the annals of American folklore and a timeless symbol of the indomitable human spirit. The Bermuda Triangle, a place where the impossible becomes reality and the line between the known and the unknown blurs. This stretch of ocean, covering over 500,000 square miles between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, has been the site of countless disappearances, vanishing ships, and planes that seem to have been swallowed whole by the sea. For decades, the Bermuda Triangle has been a source of fascination and fear, a place where the normal rules of the world seem to break down. It is a region that has captured the imaginations of people around the world, sparking countless theories and speculations about the true nature of the disappearances that have occurred here. One of the most famous and chilling disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle occurred on December 5, 1945. Flight 19, a squadron of 5 U.S. Navy torpedo bombers, took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on a routine training mission. But what started as a normal day quickly turned into a nightmare. The planes never returned. The last radio transmission from Flight 19 was a haunting distress call. The squadron leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, reported that his compasses were malfunctioning and he couldn't determine their location. His voice was filled with confusion and desperation as he tried to make sense of the situation. Then, the transmission abruptly ended, leaving behind a chilling silence. A search and rescue mission was launched, but no trace of the planes or the 14 crew members was ever found. It was as if they had vanished into thin air, swallowed up by the mysterious forces that lurk within the Bermuda Triangle. Flight 19 is just one of the many unsolved mysteries that haunt the Bermuda Triangle. Over the years, countless ships and planes have disappeared in this enigmatic region, leaving behind no clues, no wreckage, and no survivors. In 1918, a U.S. Navy cargo ship USS Cyclops disappeared without a trace, along with its crew of 309 men. It was the single largest non-combat loss of life in U.S. naval history. The ship had been traveling to Baltimore when it vanished somewhere within the Bermuda Triangle. Despite extensive searches, no wreckage or evidence of the ship's fate has ever been discovered. The disappearance of the USS Cyclops is a chilling reminder of the power and mystery of the Bermuda Triangle. It is a place where even the most advanced and well-equipped vessels can vanish without a trace, leaving behind only questions and speculation. But the Bermuda Triangle is not just a place of disappearances. It is also a place of strange and unexplained phenomena. Pilots flying over the region have reported seeing strange lights and glowing orbs in the sky, while sailors have encountered massive, unexplained waves and waterspouts. There are even tales of time distortions and magnetic anomalies within the Bermuda Triangle. Some have claimed that their compasses have spun wildly out of control, while others have reported feeling a strange sense of disorientation and confusion. These eerie and unexplained phenomena have only added to the mystery and allure of the Bermuda Triangle. They have fueled countless theories and speculations about the true nature of this enigmatic region. Some believe that the Bermuda Triangle is a portal to another dimension, a gateway to a world beyond our understanding. They claim that the disappearances and strange phenomena are the result of interdimensional shifts and tears in the fabric of reality. Others believe that the Bermuda Triangle is the site of a long-lost city, the legendary Atlantis. They claim that the advanced technology and supernatural powers of this ancient civilization are responsible for the disappearances and anomalies that occur in the region. There are even those who believe that the Bermuda Triangle is a hotspot for extraterrestrial activity. They claim that the disappearances and strange phenomena are the result of alien abductions and UFO encounters. But despite all of these theories and speculations, the true nature of the Bermuda Triangle remains a mystery. No one knows for certain what causes the disappearances and strange phenomena that occur in this enigmatic region. Some scientists and skeptics have attempted to explain away the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle, claiming that the disappearances and anomalies are simply the result of natural phenomena and human error. They point to the fact that the region is prone to hurricanes, waterspouts, and other severe weather events, which could easily sink ships and down planes. They also argue that many of the disappearances can be attributed to poor navigation, mechanical failures, and other human factors. They claim that the Bermuda Triangle is no more dangerous or mysterious than any other stretch of ocean. As we continue our journey into the heart of the Bermuda Triangle, we find ourselves confronted with a series of perplexing and mysterious events that have occurred in this enigmatic region over the past century. One such event took place in 1963, when the U.S. Navy vessel USS Sullivan's was conducting a routine mission in the Bermuda Triangle. Suddenly, without warning, the ship was enveloped in a strange, luminous fog that seemed to come out of nowhere. The crew members reported feeling a sense of disorientation and confusion, as if they had been transported to another world. Some even claimed to have seen strange, ghostly figures moving through the fog, beckoning them to follow. When the fog finally lifted, the crew of the USS Sullivan's found themselves in a completely different location, hundreds of miles from where they had been just moments before. To this day, no one has been able to explain how the ship could have traveled such a vast distance in such a short period of time. But the USS Sullivan's is just one of many vessels to have experienced strange and inexplicable phenomena in the Bermuda Triangle. In 1970, a small private plane piloted by experienced aviator Bruce Jernan encountered a similar fate. Jernan was flying from Andros Island to Miami when he suddenly found himself engulfed in a strange, swirling cloud that seemed to have a life of its own. Inside the cloud, Jernan reported seeing a series of strange, pulsating lights and feeling a sense of incredible speed and acceleration. When he finally emerged from the cloud, Jernan found that he had traveled over 100 miles in just a matter of minutes, a feat that should have been impossible given the speed and range of his small plane. Jernan's experience is just one of many that have been reported by pilots and navigators in the Bermuda Triangle over the years. Some have described seeing strange, glowing orbs of light that seem to follow their aircraft, while others have reported feeling a sense of disorientation and confusion, as if they have been transported to another dimension. But perhaps the most compelling evidence of the strange and inexplicable phenomena that occur in the Bermuda Triangle comes from the many underwater anomalies that have been discovered in the region in recent years. In 2012, a team of researchers using advanced sonar technology discovered a series of strange, geometric structures on the seafloor of the Bermuda Triangle. These structures, which are unlike anything that has ever been seen before, have been described as being impossibly precise and symmetrical, with some researchers even suggesting that they may be the remains of an ancient, advanced civilization. But the underwater anomalies don't stop there. In 2015, a team of marine biologists discovered a series of strange, glowing orbs of light deep beneath the surface of the Bermuda Triangle. These orbs, which were described as being otherworldly and unlike anything on Earth, have yet to be explained by conventional science. Some researchers have even suggested that these underwater anomalies may be connected to the many disappearances and strange phenomena that have been reported in the Bermuda Triangle over the years. They argue that the precise geometric structures and the glowing orbs of light may be evidence of an advanced underground civilization that has been manipulating the fabric of space and time in the Bermuda Triangle for centuries, perhaps even millennia. Of course, this theory is highly speculative and controversial, and many mainstream scientists dismiss it as being nothing more than wild conjecture and pseudoscience. But the fact remains that the Bermuda Triangle is a place of great mystery and intrigue, a place where the normal rules of the world seem to break down and the impossible becomes possible. Whether the strange and inexplicable phenomena that occur in this region are the result of natural causes, interdimensional portals, lost civilizations, or even extraterrestrial activity, one thing is certain: the Bermuda Triangle will continue to capture the imaginations and fascinate the minds of people around the world for generations to come. It is a reminder that the world we live in is filled with mysteries and wonders that we have yet to fully understand, and that the true nature of reality may be far stranger and more complex than we ever could have imagined. So as we continue to explore the depths of the Bermuda Triangle and unravel the secrets that lie hidden within, let us do so with a sense of awe and reverence, knowing that we are privileged to be witnesses to one of the greatest and most enduring mysteries of our time. For in the end, the Bermuda Triangle may hold the key to unlocking the very secrets of the universe itself, and to revealing the true nature of our place within the grand cosmic tapestry of existence. As we embark on the final leg of our journey into the heart of the Bermuda Triangle, we find ourselves standing on the precipice of a great and terrifying revelation. For years, researchers and investigators have been desperately searching for answers to the many mysteries and anomalies that have been reported in this enigmatic region. And now, at long last, it appears that they may have finally found the key to unlocking the secrets of the Bermuda Triangle once and for all. In recent years, a series of groundbreaking discoveries have been made in the depths of the Bermuda Triangle, discoveries that have the potential to change everything we thought we knew about this mysterious place. Perhaps the most significant of these discoveries was made in 2018, when a team of deep-sea explorers stumbled upon a massive underwater cavern system that stretched for miles beneath the surface of the Bermuda Triangle. As the explorers made their way deeper into the caverns, they began to notice strange, glowing symbols etched into the walls, symbols that seemed to be written in a language that no one had ever seen before. But that was just the beginning. As the explorers pressed on, they discovered a series of massive crystalline structures that seemed to be generating an incredible amount of energy that was unlike anything they had ever encountered before. Some of the explorers even reported feeling a strange sense of euphoria and enlightenment as they approached the crystals, as if they were being drawn into a higher state of consciousness. But the true nature of these crystals remained a mystery until a team of scientists from around the world were brought in to study them more closely. What they discovered was nothing short of astonishing. The crystals, it turned out, were not of this world. They were, in fact, the remnants of an ancient, highly advanced civilization that had once thrived in the depths of the Bermuda Triangle, a civilization that had unlocked the secrets of interdimensional travel and had harnessed the very fabric of space and time itself. According to the scientists, this ancient civilization had constructed a massive network of portals and gateways throughout the Bermuda Triangle, portals that allowed them to travel to other dimensions and universes at will. And the strange, glowing symbols that had been etched into the walls of the caverns, they were, in fact, a kind of interdimensional roadmap, a guide to the many different worlds and realities that lay beyond the veil of our own existence. But perhaps the most terrifying revelation of all was yet to come. As the scientists continued to study the crystals and the underwater caverns, they began to notice a disturbing pattern emerging. It seemed that every few thousand years, the portals and gateways within the Bermuda Triangle would activate, unleashing a wave of cosmic energy that would ripple out across the world, causing untold destruction and chaos. And now, according to their calculations, another activation was imminent. The portals were set to open once again, and when they did, the very fabric of our reality would be torn asunder, unleashing forces beyond our wildest nightmares. The scientists frantically raced against time, desperately searching for a way to stop the impending cataclysm. But as the hours ticked by and the energy levels within the crystals continued to rise, they began to realize the terrible truth. There was no stopping what was to come. And so, as the world held its breath and the skies above the Bermuda Triangle began to darken and swirl with an otherworldly energy, the scientists could only watch in horror as the portals began to open, unleashing a tidal wave of cosmic energy that threatened to consume everything in its path. In the end, the Bermuda Triangle had revealed its ultimate secret, and it was a secret that would change the course of human history forever. For as the portals opened and the fabric of reality began to unravel, humanity was forced to confront the terrifying realization that we are not alone in the universe, and that the forces that govern the cosmos are far beyond our understanding or control. And as the world was plunged into darkness and chaos, the survivors of the cataclysm were left to pick up the pieces and try to make sense of the new reality that had been thrust upon them. But one thing was certain: the Bermuda Triangle had finally given up its secrets, and the world would never be the same again. Although it's been decades since the Patterson-Gimlin film turned a Northwest legend, Bigfoot, into a household name, the footage and stories behind it still remain fascinating 50 years later. The filmmakers and namesakes of the film are two former rodeo men from Yakima County in Washington. One, Bob Gimlin, still lives there. Roger Patterson died in 1972. They shot the footage off the banks of Bluff Creek in Northern California. Bigfoot is seen on film for less than 1 minute, but one frame, 352, has pretty much become the universal symbol for Sasquatch, and that famous giant walking ape is actually a she. Her name is Patty. But what might be most surprising, after a half-century of advancement in film and costume technology, is that this footage has yet to be officially debunked. Furthermore, it's concrete proof for true believers around the globe that the Sasquatch is in fact real. At this point, I'm as confident as I can be sure of standing on the sandbar with Roger and Bob, and witnessed it myself, said Jeffrey Meldrum. Meldrum is a professor of anatomy and anthropology at Idaho State University, and he's known for being one of the few academics to openly study Sasquatch. He said, "It's all so easy to say. Obviously that's a man in a fursuit, until you see it up against a man in a fursuit." Jeffrey Meldrum points no further than the Planet of the Apes franchise. The first film came out around the same time as the Patterson-Gimlin film and won an Oscar for makeup. He specifically calls up a scene in the sauna in the 1970 sequel, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. The apes are bare-chested. A few walk around the steamy room. Meldrum says these costumes are at the bleeding edge of film technology, and he's not impressed. They like big, hairy Pillsbury cowboys, he said. Meldrum compares to the Patterson-Gimlin film, which he shows to his anatomy students. He asked them to point out different landmarks in surface anatomy they see in Patty. They start at the head, and they can see the trapezius, they can see the deltoid, erector spine down the back, shoulder blades moving under the skin. The quads contract when they're supposed to contract, he said, almost breathlessly. None of which ever show up in a cheap, off-the-shelf costume. But what's the story behind the famous Patterson Bigfoot film? Roger Patterson became interested in the notion of Bigfoot after reading an article by Ivan T. Sanderson in True magazine in the early 1960s. In 1966, he self-published a short book about Bigfoot, Stephen, and in 1967, he and a friend, Robert Bob Gimlin, set off into the wilderness to try to obtain film of the creature. Patterson had brought a 16mm movie camera for the trip, and with it, he took one of the most iconic, analyzed, and debated pieces of film ever made. According to their account, on Friday, October 20, 1967, the two men were riding in a remote area not far from Bluff Creek, where Jerry Crew had discovered strange footprints in 1958 when they suddenly saw a large, hairy hominid close to a dry riverbed. It apparently saw them, and as Patterson dismounted and began to film, it made its way into dense brush. The two men followed but did not see the creature again, though they did find several footprints. The film that Patterson shot is less than 1 minute long. At the beginning, it's shaky, and Patterson later explained that he was running towards the creature as he began filming. Then, he stopped to kneel, and the film becomes steadier. The creature continued walking briskly away, though it did glance over its shoulder towards the camera. Patterson had the film developed and was able to sell the rights to show it to several television shows in America and the BBC in the UK. The film is now widely available on the internet, and chances are that every adult in the United States has come across it. Immediately, people argued over whether it was a genuine film of an unknown hominid or a fake showing a person in a Bigfoot suit, and somewhat incredibly, the debate is still ongoing more than 50 years later. There are certainly reasons for questioning the film's veracity. To many people, it seemed too good to be true that just a couple of days after setting out to film Bigfoot, Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin obtained relatively close-up film of the creature. Many other people have tried to obtain footage of Bigfoot before and since, but no one has even come close to replicating the clarity of this short section of film. Ray Wallace, the man who claimed to be responsible for making the original Bluff Creek footprints, would later claim that it was he who told Roger Patterson where to go to make a film of Bigfoot. The implication is that Wallace was either in on a hoax planned by Patterson and Gimlin, or that he, knowing where the pair planned to go, had arranged for a person in a Bigfoot suit to appear in front of them. Much later, a person would come forward to claim that he had been the person in the Bigfoot suit who helped Patterson and Gimlin create the hoax. Aside from simple belief or skepticism, plenty of people have actually analyzed the film in a scientific manner. There is nothing fake about the film in the sense that it was clearly taken using the Kodak K116mm film camera that Patterson had hired and recorded on Kodachrome color film. The question is over what the film actually shows. An expert examination of the film hasn't resolved the matter to everyone's satisfaction. Many scientists simply refuse to spend any time examining it, if only because Bigfoot is an emotive subject and seriously examining evidence can be a career killer for mainstream scientists. Moreover, those who were persuaded to look at it gave contradictory and opposing opinions. For example, the Patterson-Gimlin film was examined by Dr. Dmitry Donskoy, chief of the chair of biomechanics at the USSR Central Institute of Physical Culture in Moscow, when it was first released. He noted that the way that the creature in the film walked was absolutely non-typical of man. In other words, he believed that the image could not show a person in a Bigfoot suit. A few other scientists agreed, but others took the opposite view. Dr. John Napier, a physical anthropologist and the former head of the primate program at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, said after viewing the film, "There is little doubt that the scientific evidence taken collectively points to a hoax of some kind." These were contemporary reviews, and the film has been examined many times since. Some people argue that the proportions of the creature it shows and the way in which it walks indicate that it cannot be a person. Others are equally certain that there is nothing in the film that definitively proves that it cannot be a person in a suit. Thus, the scientific evidence is ambiguous for those who would like to know whether the film may really show Bigfoot. If it really is a hoax that shows a person in a Bigfoot suit, the question of how easily it could have been created is also subject to debate. By coincidence, in 1968, the year after the film was taken, 2 Hollywood movies were released that featured actors wearing very convincing ape-man costumes and makeup: Planet of the Apes and 2001, A Space Odyssey. Skeptics claimed that this proved that it was possible to make a wholly convincing Bigfoot suit, though none were able to explain how Roger Patterson or Bob Gimlin might have acquired one in 1967. But subsequent events have suggested that this isn't entirely true. In the late 1990s, the BBC made a documentary about Bigfoot as part of a series called X Creatures. They commissioned special effects experts to produce a Bigfoot suit to show how easy it would be to fake the film, and they even filmed an actor wearing this suit in Bluff Creek. The resulting film clip was so laughably unlike the film that it was quietly edited out when this documentary was subsequently released on video, though it was still noted that it would have been easy to fake the Bigfoot seen in the 1967 footage. In the early 2000s, a man named Bob Hieronymus provided a startling confession when he admitted that he had made the Bigfoot suit for Patterson and Gimlin and had played the role of Bigfoot in the movie. Hieronymus certainly knew Patterson and had provided some of the horses used on the trip to Bluff Creek, but when National Geographic made a documentary intended to prove the film was a fake, the resulting footage was, once again, nothing like the original. Witnesses were also found who confirmed that Patterson and Gimlin had been alone on their journey and not, as he claimed, accompanied by Hieronymus. It is now generally accepted that Hieronymus was a publicity seeker who hoped that he could make some money by claiming to have participated in a hoax. Once again, this claim that the footage was a hoax seems to have been a hoax itself. Similarly, Ray Wallace's claim that he had told Roger Patterson where to film and his apparent involvement in the hoax were demonstrated to be false when it became apparent that Wallace didn't actually know where the footage had been shot. As a result, the Patterson-Gimlin film remains one of the prime pieces of evidence for the existence of Bigfoot among believers, but for every expert who claims that the creature in the film cannot be a person, there is another who claims that it clearly is. For every special effects expert who claims that it would be easy to make a Bigfoot suit matching the creature in the film, there is another who claims it would have been virtually impossible. All that can be said about these conflicting claims is that, to date, no one has made a film showing a creature that matches the bulk, gait, and movement of that shown in the Patterson-Gimlin film. That certainly doesn't prove that the film really does show Bigfoot, but likewise, no one has been able to conclusively prove that it doesn't. On November 15, 1966, 2 young couples were out for a joyride along the backroads around Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Around midnight, They made it to the decommissioned munitions factory the locals called the TNT area, now the Naklyntic Wildlife Management Area, where they encountered the creature we now know as Mothman. Those two couples, Linda and Roger Scarberry, and Mary and Steve Millette, weren't the first to see it. In fact, there'd been enough sightings before that of the creature lurking in the woods by the TNT area that it had gained a local nickname, the Bird. But their story was so detailed and harrowing that it was reported on in the local newspapers the very next day, making it the very first published sighting of the Mothman. According to the Scarberrys and Millette's accounts of the incident, when they arrived at the TNT area, the first thing they saw of the creature was its eyes, glowing red in the headlights of their car. It didn't chase them, not yet. Instead, they watched it turn and disappear around the corner of the building, which gave them a better view of the rest of the creature. All 4 eyewitnesses, and at least one of the earlier eyewitnesses, described the creature as a humanoid with wings. According to the original police reports about the November 15th incident, the Mothman was gray in color, around 6 to 7 feet tall with muscular legs. The wings on its back, also gray when fully unfurled, had a wingspan of around 10 feet. The only color on the entire creature were the circular eyes, about 2 inches wide and 6 inches apart, which glowed a fiery red in the car's headlights. But despite seeing its legs and eyes clearly enough to give those detailed descriptions, Linda Scarberry and Mary Millette both reported being unable to see any arms or even a head. When the creature disappeared around the building, wobbling as if it were unsteady on its feet, Roger Millette, who was driving the car, floored it, heading back towards town with his passengers yelling at him to hurry. They were not home free yet, though, because they saw the creature again, perched on a hill, as if waiting for them as they turned a bend in the road. As they watched, the creature spread its wings and launched straight into the air. The terrified passengers amped up their shouting for Roger to get them out of there. As they pulled out onto a straight stretch of road, Roger was able to really open it up, speeding down the road at around 100 miles per hour. But it wasn't fast enough. The creature kept pace with the car, the passengers reporting not only being able to see it and its shadow through the rear windshield and back passenger windows, they could hear its wings flapping as it kept up to speed, could hear them brushing and scratching against the roof of the car. They weren't able to shake it off until they reached the gates of a local farmer's home, theorizing that it was the bright lights that had scared it off. They drove the rest of the way into town, stopping near the lights of a local business to process what had just happened and figure out what to do next. Linda insisted on calling the police, but Roger and Steve were worried that the police would just laugh at them, and against both Linda and Mary's protests, decided to drive back out to the road. They only got as far as the farm before they lost their nerve and decided to turn back. But just as Roger was turning the car back towards town, something leaped out from behind an animal carcass beside the road, climbed over the back of their car, and disappeared into the field on the other side of the road. The couples didn't know for sure if it was the Mothman or something else entirely, but it scared them enough to convince Roger and Steve to finally go to the police. After telling their story and insisting that they hadn't been drinking that night, a policeman and another local, Gary, who'd placed the call for them from a drive-in diner, decided to follow them back up the road to the TNT area to look for the creature again. The couple saw it first, walking in a pasture as they crested a hill. It flew into the air directly towards them, but veered off and disappeared when it was hit by the headlights of Gary's car coming up over the hill. They drove up and down road for a bit, but didn't see it again, and the whole caravan headed back towards town, where they met up with Deputy Sheriff Millard Halstead. The deputy sheriff drove back up to the TNT area with the couples and Gary once more. The drive, this time, was uneventful, and once they'd parked, Halstead turned on the spotlight on his car to search the tree line, while Roger only reported seeing some dust or smoke coming from the nearby coal yard. Both Linda and Mary reported more. Strange shadows on the building, an odd noise like the squeaking of a mouse, only a lot stronger, and eventually the eyes. Linda and Mary both recalled telling Halstead that they could see the eyes and that he then turned his spotlight directly on them without even asking them to point them out, implying that he could see the eyes too. They didn't say what happened after the deputy sheriff turned his light on the eyes, but after sitting out there for about 15 to 20 minutes with no other major incident, the group piled back into their respective cars, drove back into town, and went their separate ways. Too scared to be alone after the experience, the Millettes stayed that night at the Scarberrys' home, though none of them were able to fall asleep. The next day, the couples were interviewed by the local paper, who sent a reporter to go back out to the TNT area with them, where they saw the creature again. A few days later, 3 of the 4 witnesses gave their official police report describing the creature and the incident in detail. They also went into some detail about the harassment and mocking they'd been experiencing in the days since the encounter. Accusations of excessive drinking were common. Linda and Mary both complained about not being able to go out in public without hearing people laughing at them. Speculations about what they really saw out in the woods were plentiful and insistent that the couple simply couldn't have seen what they knew they'd seen. Linda even described a local minister making light of their experience. But even as the Scarberrys and Millettes were being ostracized by many of their neighbors, the sightings continued. The 2 couples have, over the years, individually reported seeing Mothman again several times. Linda, in particular, has claimed that Mothman was an occasional visitor to the Scarberry home's roof. Of course, after the newspaper article about their encounter was published, not only did previous reports start coming to light, more people made pilgrimages to the TNT area, either seeking out their own encounter or trying to prove one of the many debunking theories people have posed. With so many people visiting the site, it was inevitable that the reports of encounters with Mothman would only continue. Since that fall night in 1966, speculation about who, what, and why Mothman is have spread through both the believers and non-believers. The most common theories among the debunkers are that Mothman is simply a bird. Some speculate that it's an owl. The Huntington Herald-Dispatch reported a mere 4 days after the incident that West Virginia University professor, Dr. Robert L. Smith, was certain that Mothman was just a sandhill crane that had taken a detour during its normal migration. Though he admitted that not all the details fit the crane, nor was he aware of any confirmed sightings in the area around that time, even though the occasional sandhill crane had been spotted in the area before. On the other side of the speculation, some folks believe that Mothman is some kind of demon. Others believe it's simply a creature we previously didn't know existed. Still others have chosen to believe that Mothman is not only not an evil or malicious entity, but that it came to Point Pleasant, WV to help. On December 15, 1967, Point Pleasant Silver Bridge collapsed into the Ohio River under the weight of heavy rush hour traffic. It was, at the time, the worst bridge accident in American history, thrusting Point Pleasant into a national spotlight and triggering a rehaul in regulations for both the inspection of existing bridges and the building of new ones. The fact that the tragedy happened exactly 13 months to the day after the Scarberry and Millette sighting. The fact that, leading up to the collapse, many locals reported having nightmares about an upcoming disaster, some even specifically seeing people drowning in the Ohio River. The fact that reported sightings of Mothman suddenly dropped off immediately following the disaster have led some to believe that the Mothman was simply there to try to warn the people of Point Pleasant about the upcoming tragedy. This theory, popularized by the 2002 Richard Gere film, The Mothman Prophecies, was proposed originally by writer, journalist, and ufologist John Keel in his book of the same name that loosely inspired the 2002 film. It's hard to fully grasp Mothman's influence on the greater U.S. culture. While it doesn't have the mainstream name recognition that Bigfoot or Nessie do, it's impossible to deny that it's become more well-known outside of its territory than almost any other regional cryptid. The 2002 film, largely met with a resounding meh by audiences and critics alike, may have been Mothman's most mainstream appearance, besides also been name-dropped in the hugely popular 90s series, The X-Files. But where Mothman really finds popularity is in lesser-known, more niche media with passionate fans. Original comics, video games, prematurely canceled genre sitcoms, made-for-TV movies, and actual play TTRP podcasts. There's no mistaking that Mothman has become a symbol, icon, and darling of weirdos, queerdos, nerds, geeks, and freaks. The folks who know that there's more to life than just accepting the world as society presents it to you.
In southern Ohio and northern West Virginia, the legend of Mothman is as strong as it was 45 years ago. It's become part of the personality of Point Pleasant, where in December of 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed, killing 46 people. 2 of the dead were never found. But the stories of the creature that came to be known as Mothman began many months earlier.
And this is where all of your Mothman sightings started back in '66, November '66.
Jeff Wamsley gives tours showing people where the legendary 7-foot-tall winged man with glowing red eyes the size of baseballs was spotted at least 100 times between November 1966 through December of 1967. He also runs a Mothman museum. The first witnesses were two couples together at a town gathering spot, the power plant, which sounds like a lover's lane of the late 1960s.
As they got up closer, she said, "What is this guy doing standing in the road?" And she said when the headlights hit it, it turned and looked at him. And she said the wings were like angel's wings above its head, way above its head. And she said that's when the wings came out. And they said, "That's not a man."
They say Mothman chased their car at incredible speeds. The women were said to be hospitalized for shock. The witnesses all described the same thing, a faceless, red-eyed freak who seemed to have a message to tell. But what was this message? Carolyn Marcella runs the local diner. Her sister saw Mothman, but won't do interviews. In fact, most people won't do interviews.
And it flew over top of her, and she looked up, and she said, "When I seen them big red eyes," she said, "we were out of there. Can't tell you what the rest of it looks like."
A lot of respectable business people, young kids, older people, elderly. But the people that I've talked to, they just said, we were afraid that people would laugh at us and, think that we were crazy. But, they said we know what we saw, and some of them said that it was a large bird of some sort. Others said it wasn't a bird.
How can any of this be explained? Critics say these sightings are really misidentified planes. Owls are just plain pranks. This is an area of chemical plants and military ammunition storage. It's an industry town on the Ohio River that didn't have the kind of environmental regulations it has today.
Somebody was up here fishing one day, saw this fluorescent green stuff coming out of the water, sort of like Jed Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies.
Could it have been some type of mutated bird of 50s and 60s sci-fi fear? Or was Mothman really here to warn the river people? Those sightings came to a terrifying climax when that bridge collapsed, killing 46 people and changing the area forever. The collapse was so extreme, it set federal regulations on bridge construction. And those Mothman sightings, they stopped too. You believe it?
I believe they saw something, yeah. I don't doubt their stories one bit. I mean, what it was, I can't tell you, personally what it was. I know that they saw something that was out of the ordinary.
Something those witnesses and the people of Point Pleasant will never forget.
The world is a vast and mysterious place, filled with secrets and anomalies that have haunted the human imagination for centuries. And among the most enduring and terrifying of these mysteries are the Bermuda Triangle, D.B. Cooper, Bigfoot, and the Mothman. At first glance, these four phenomena may seem to have little in common. The Bermuda Triangle is a stretch of ocean known for its high number of unexplained disappearances, while D.B. Cooper is the pseudonym of a man who hijacked a plane and vanished without a trace. Bigfoot is a legendary creature said to roam the forests of North America, and the Mothman is a winged, humanoid entity that has been sighted in various locations around the world. But despite their apparent differences, these four mysteries are all united by a common thread. They are all manifestations of our deepest and most primal fears, fears that have been hardwired into our psyches since the dawn of human history. At their core, the Bermuda Triangle, D.B. Cooper, Bigfoot, and the Mothman are all emblems of the unknown, of the vast and terrifying world that lies beyond the boundaries of our understanding. They are reminders that, despite all of our technological advances and scientific knowledge, there are still forces at work in the universe that we cannot explain or control. Take the Bermuda Triangle, for example. This stretch of ocean has been the site of countless disappearances over the years, with ships and planes vanishing without a trace, never to be seen again. Some say that the triangle is a portal to another dimension, a gateway to a realm beyond our own. Others claim that it is the domain of ancient underwater civilizations, or even extraterrestrial beings that have been manipulating the fabric of space and time for their own inscrutable purposes. But regardless of the true nature of the Bermuda Triangle, one thing is certain: It represents our deepest fears of the unknown, of the vast and endless expanse of the ocean that can swallow us whole and leave no trace of our passing. And then there is D.B. Cooper, the enigmatic figure who hijacked a plane in 1971 and then vanished into thin air, never to be seen again. Some say that Cooper was a master criminal, a genius who outsmarted the authorities and made off with a fortune in cash. Others believe that he was a CIA operative, a man with a hidden agenda and a mission that we will never fully understand. But whatever the truth may be, D.B. Cooper represents our fear of the unknown that lurks within the hearts of men, of the dark and twisted desires that can drive a person to commit unspeakable acts of violence and betrayal. And what of Bigfoot, the legendary creature that is said to roam the forests of North America? For centuries, people have reported sightings of this elusive beast, describing it as a towering, hairy humanoid with glowing eyes and an unearthly howl. Some claim that Bigfoot is a missing link in the evolutionary chain, a creature that has somehow managed to evade detection and capture for all these years. But others believe that Bigfoot is something far more sinister, a manifestation of our deepest fears and anxieties about the natural world. After all, what could be more terrifying than the idea of a savage, primal being lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce on us at any moment? And finally, there is the Mothman, the winged humanoid entity that has been sighted in various locations around the world, from the United States to Russia to South America. Some say that the Mothman is a harbinger of doom, a creature that appears in times of great tragedy and upheaval, foretelling the coming of catastrophe and destruction. But others believe that the Mothman is a manifestation of our deepest fears about the unknown forces that govern the universe, of the vast and ineffable powers that lie beyond our understanding and control. And it is here, in the depths of our collective unconscious, that the true horror of these four mysteries lies. For they are not just isolated incidents or unexplained phenomena, but rather emblems of the vast and terrifying world that lies beyond the boundaries of our perception. They are reminders that, despite all of our efforts to impose order and meaning on the chaos of existence, there are still forces at work in the universe that defy our understanding and control. And so, as we contemplate the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle, D.B. Cooper, Bigfoot, and the Mothman, let us do so with a sense of humility and awe, recognizing that we are but small and insignificant creatures in the face of the vast and unknowable cosmos. But let us also steel ourselves for the horrors that may yet lie ahead, for who knows what terrors may be lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike at any moment?